Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Gardens Grow.
I'm pretty sure I've already shown this to you at an earlier date, but I was so surprised to see it shining in such beauty. I know it must love the cooler weather than it does that old hot summer's weather that we had, but it is just looking so good. But it certainly won't be long before all the leaves are gone. Here's another little example of the garden imitating life, our life. Look at this little rose. It's looking all around it and seeing that everything around it is getting old, but that doesn't pertain to it. We're not getting old. People around us are getting old. We just can't give it up. We can't believe it. Well, yesterday we were just blooming in all of our dewy youth. And during that time of your life, you just totally take youth for granted. But I've come to realize that everybody should get to take something for granted. When my daughter was growing up, I used to think sometimes she just took me for granted. But I thought again, and I thought, that's good. That's wonderful that she has something that she doesn't worry about going to be there. She knows it's going to be there. And we do know those things until we know they're not there any longer. But God is so good, and it's so wonderful to have that special time in our lives when we don't worry about all that stuff. We just kind of, let go and let God take care of everything and know that He will, without even questioning it or wondering if there is a God. And then by the time we reach my age, we're just pretty sure, yes, there is a God, because we would not have made it this far without Him, and we certainly wouldn't still be able to do all the things that we do without Him, even if sometimes we do get confused, overwhelmed, inadequate, all those things. But there's just no doubt, ever a doubt, that God is good. God is good all the time, even when we don't see it or feel it. Thankfully, He is there taking care of everything, like that one little saying or poem that goes like it was, whenever my roughest times, I can look back and see your footsteps everywhere except then, and you were not with me. I didn't feel you. I knew you weren't there, and this proves that there's no footsteps. None of your footsteps are there. And then the Lord said, my child, it was those times that I carried you. Those footsteps are mine. So grateful that He takes us through things we couldn't get through without Him. And even then, it takes sometimes many, many years and many different lessons to get things figured out enough. But His grace is always sufficient. Today is November the 21st. You know, Thursday is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope yours was great, because when I get this on, it'll be after New Year's. But I just wanted to tell you, well, first of all, let me tell you that my sister, my baby sister, made this for me many, many years ago, and it's just always a reminder of her and her love. But I wanted to tell you that we did have a wonderful Thanksgiving reunion at my sister Rosie's house. We had 124, and it was our 28th year to gather at her home. And it was so wonderful. And God was so good to me, because, around the 8th, I think it was the 8th and 9th, I started feeling just a little bit bad. Not very bad, I figured I had a cold coming on. But I tried warding it off with some cold medicine. And it really worked right up until Saturday night, the 11th, and I said, if I feel like this, I can't go to church in the morning on the 12th. And sure enough, I felt like that, only worse. And the whole day, Sunday was miserable. Sunday night was miserable. Monday, I started feeling better again. And then I got worried because, I cooked all that food, and I thought, oh no, it's all going to be contaminated. Oh yeah, I forgot to add that I did do a COVID test, and it showed positive. But I was feeling better by then, and I was just worried about the food. And so I was scared to look it up on Google and find out that it was all contaminated and had to throw it all away. But actually what I found was that COVID does not pass on to someone else through food. It's only through your respiratory system. So I felt like I was safe. I felt like my family was safe. And I just got all excited and finished up. And my second batch of Divinity did turn out. It did have to sit overnight before it firmed up all the way, but it did firm up, and my family, I think they loved it. It was all gone. So that's a great sign. And my sister Rose said that we're on our 5th generation that has come to our family get-together at her home, and it's just so exciting. It's so exciting to be with family and have so many memories. And of course we're so busy just bopping off of each other, giving each other a hug, and going on to the next person in the next little tiny tidbit of conversation, because we never hear a whole conversation there. We're just so busy, but it's so wonderful that for days after you remember what people said and what people did. My little great grandson Max walked into the kitchen where I was I would say helping, but I was standing around in people's way where they couldn't even get their job done because of me. But it was still wonderful, and I was semi-trying, because the most important thing to me is just getting all them hugs and all that love, and just seeing everybody, because we don't get to see each other all the time. That's the most family and one time I get to see all year. And I saw every one of my sisters except one, and I have plans to go see her, and maybe we can eat out together, and I'm excited about that. I took each one of them a little bag, and most of them actually like divinity, but I had it to put in there, so I was very much excited and very happy. But I was going to tell you about Max, because I was standing in the kitchen and I felt a little nudge on my leg, and I heard a child say, hi, just kind of deadpan. And I looked down, and there he was, and he had just bypassed everybody else and came to his grandma. And he always makes me feel like I'm the most loved grandmother that he has. He has several grandmothers. He makes every one of them feel like they're the most loved. He's just so special, so wonderful. I love him so much. He knows I do. I love you, Max, if you're listening to this. You're such a joy to our family. I'm so grateful you're there. After you know somebody, you just wonder, well, how did you ever live without them in your life? And of course, that's the way I feel about Shane, and for that matter, all of my nieces and nephews. They're so wonderful. They love me so much. They think I'm great. And you know what? When somebody thinks that about you, it almost makes you feel like you are. It's wonderful. So hopefully I did not make anybody sick, and I'm certainly feeling fine now. I felt fine for several days before I went, and things did work out. Look at this. This is the little clipping that I took off of my, what is this called? I think it's called a purple passion plant, and I had tried at least 3 others, and every one of them died. And I've never really had any luck at trying them inside. I always try them while they're still outside so they can get sun and air and all of that. But this little one has been sitting there laying down. Its leaves were laying down on those little red rocks, and then all of a sudden it began to stand to attention. So I know it has its root and it's on its way, and that makes me so happy too. But let me show you another plant. I told you I lost my rubber plant, and I was kind of keeping an eye out for one, and I did tell my youngest daughter that I was looking for one, and oh my goodness, she works with Altman plants. And look at this, what she found me. Isn't this the most beautiful rubber plant you've ever seen? It certainly is for me. It's so pretty. And if that wasn't already pretty enough, just because it's so gorgeous, this would make it that pretty. Just that little sign, to Mom, from Amanda. How precious is that? So I'm back in business with a new rubber plant, and I hope I can keep it for many years to come. I hope one day she has to clean all this mess up that I have, and she takes this one home with her and keeps it for many years more. But God is so good, and it's true that our plants really do remind us of the love of people, and they become special to us just like animals become a part of your family. These little plants do become a part of you. And along with the things that I've already shown you that I cooked, I also made chocolate crusted with Oreo crumbs instead of graham cracker crumbs. That's the way we like it. I mean, we like it both ways, to be truthful, but somehow that chocolate and that cherry just really hits the spot. And so I did make that, and I made the refrigeratable dessert that's a layered dessert with Cool Whip and shortbread crust and like a cream cheese layer, and it's just, and then topped with Cool Whip on top of chocolate pudding. So it's very good. It goes over really well. None of it came home with me, just the way I wanted it. We stopped at the cemeteries on the way. This is my niece. And this is my niece right beside her there too, that has passed away, and I miss them so, but it does feel like they're always watching over me as an angel, and I do believe that they are. I think, I just couldn't go ahead with a family gathering if I didn't stop and just remind them that we have not forgotten them, nor would we think about forgetting them. They're so special to us. They're still part of our lives. They always will be. And it seems so sad and unfair that so many of my sisters and one brother have had to lose their children, some of their children. This is Cassie, my niece. She's so tender-hearted, so precious, so wonderful. I love her so much. I love all my family. It's so good just to have those special people that God put in your life to be bonded to keep on right on loving. And this is my sister. She is still with us, thank God. And she's my baby sister that I was telling you about that made the calendar. Also, she was at this time an officer in the Salvation Army. I think about the times, too, when we were so poor we didn't even have Thanksgiving dinner. And turkey, well, what was turkey? That was something that Daddy once killed for us by shooting one out of the sky that we had when I was a baby, practically a child. And so I don't remember the turkey, but I remember my daddy shooting it. I remember the sound of the gun going off and how he glowed that he had a turkey for his family for Thanksgiving. And I remember all the things that, we didn't have. And now we're so lucky that we've had so much, so very much. And on top of all of it, we haven't lost each other. Even the ones that we have lost, we haven't lost. They're forever in our hearts. And we have hope of eternal life. And it's wonderful what God has done for us by sending His Son, and that we have hope. Hope is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And this is my nephew Clay. Certainly couldn't leave him out. And there are others that we don't have pictures of. But one day we'll all be together and we will know even as we are known. And it's cold and windy out today, and I still have not started on my iris clipping. They're all over the place. I have them everywhere. I need to get that started. Probably won't happen today though. And by next Monday we are in line for some sleet and snow, so I don't know how it'll all work out, but I keep telling myself if I could just get it started, I would have a good chance of getting it done, but we'll see how that goes. It is pretty cool out today, but it was beautiful on Thanksgiving Day, and because we've had our Thanksgiving early, I came out and got the irises all clipped out of the front. There's many more to clip out in the back, but it's good just to have this little part done. It's Sunday, November the 26th, and this is our first snow of the season, of this winter season. Kind of looks pretty, doesn't it? A little bit cold out, but I think it's supposed to clear up and be nice the rest of the day. Today is December the 4th, 2023, and this year is fastly leaving us. So today it's about 55 degrees outside at about 3:30, I think, somewhere along in there. And I'm going to try to get some of my irises clipped off. I still lack a whole lot. I know I won't get them done today, maybe not even this week, but I am going to try to get as many of them as I can done within the next 3 days, because I think it's supposed to be pretty nice, and it won't be forever. It won't last. We've had some very cold days, but we're having those few nice days, and I want to see just how much I can get accomplished, because it will be a lot easier to do it while they still have some green than when they all get brown and limp and hard to find where they're hooked onto the rhizome and hard to cut off. And I have so many in the backyard. I have several just right at the back. And then as we go on further along this fence row, I have a lot. I have a few just scattered around all through the garden. And of course this back row all the way down. And that may be where I'll start today. But at this point, it's close to Christmas, and my mind is on so many things besides the garden. So we'll see how far I get along. But I really don't feel like doing this, because I'd rather do other things. But I keep reminding myself that it's going to be a lot easier to do it now than it will to do it later. So I'm trying to push forward and trying to remind myself that it feels as wonderful to get it done as it does as terrible to have it to do when it's all finished. So I'm hoping to get it started so that at some point, hopefully, I can get it finished before it's all turns brown. And I was very proud of myself for getting my peonies all clipped back. And then I thought, this is where the castor bean used to grow, and it's always in the spring. I've had my husband to come and saw this down, and I thought, wait, maybe that's just like the peonies. If you get it while it's still got some green in it, I could clip that down with the clippers, and sure enough, that's what happened. So that should have been what I was doing all along. So much easier. And as you can see, I never did come out and get my little zinnia seeds, Perfusion zinnia seeds. I still could do that. They're still there. They won't always be there. The winds and just the elements of winter will take most of these off, or the birds. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll get out here and still get some of these. But of the few bits of color that are hanging on, most everything is going ahead and going brown and dormant. Of course, the pansies will be pretty all winter if they live and they get watered enough. I'm not really planning on coming out here and watering them though, but so far we've had enough just little bits of rain, but it's been enough to keep them going. But even the mums have lost or are losing their pretty little flowers. I don't really work on having a winter garden, but I know that some people do, and they still have beautiful winter gardens. I do try to have a little bit of a fall garden, because like this year, we really didn't have much of a pretty fall. What was left was all the dead stuff mixed in with some of the pretty fall colors, but I like that because at least I got to come out here and just enjoy that little bit of color, even if it was mixed in with all the drab and dying colors. And we did have some pretty fall colors. This is just a hardy geranium, but it does turn the pretty colors in the fall. Of course, even it and all the other pretty colors of fall would actually do better if we had longer fall before the actual frost comes. This year it came early again, so we missed out on quite a bit of the fall color, but we did get some of it. And here's a few more of these little profusion zinnias that I would like to get in. I'm not going to say for sure I'll ever get around to that. There's so much I would like to do before Christmas and before the ground freezes, so I'll just basically have to wait and see what I get done. But I have been trying to, along as I do other things, I've tried to not just forget about the garden. Sometimes just the hope of getting some pretty late fall color is enough to bring a person outside to check out the garden. I did fill up one of the bird feeders, and I can see they found it. It took them a little while, but I did notice a female cardinal out here earlier. I think that was just a little sparrow that hid from me back there behind it. But I'm not really having any trouble letting it all go now. I'm ready to enjoy winter for a while, but I can't help it when the sun is shining on something, making it glow and be beautiful. It's just time to get a picture or two. So most of the mums are gone, but they'll be back again next year. And I went back to the front where I have actually got all of the irises clipped back, so that's great. But I've got to get some more clipped back. Yesterday I didn't get out here until about 3, and it gets dark shortly after 5, so I didn't have a lot of time, and I only got this little part of it. But I did come out today and get all the rest of this side done. And some of the iris not only needed clipping back, but they need to be divided. But I've heard it's not good to divide them in the winter. They need the energy stored up in their little rhizome to help them make it through the winter. So, and I also have read that it actually is best to divide them in July and August. Those are very hot times for us. But mine, there's several of them that I definitely do need to divide, like this little clump right here. So I'll probably try to do that this next year if possible. I know I can't do it in the heat, but sometimes we do have a cool day and some rain, and that would be great to have the ground soft and go ahead and dig these up and just thin them out some. To me, irises are pretty hard to take care of, really, because, I mean, they actually are a more Xerox plant. They don't need a lot of water and not a whole lot of attention other than that clipping them all back. And it's just so much easier to do it while they're still standing up straight than it is when they're just laying down and you can't even tell where they're hooked onto their rhizome, and it becomes a real problem if you have to wait until spring, which I have done before. So, but they're so worth it when they bloom. They are beautiful, and that's another reason we should always go ahead and divide the iris when they get too thick, because if we don't, they will stop blooming. So at some point I want to get that done, but right now I'm just excited to have gotten it all clipped back. And when I say all, I mean this one little row of them, because I still have them on 3 different sides of the house that I need to take care of. I probably won't do that today because I just have other things I'm going to have to get onto. And maybe because I would like to actually be able to move and not be quite so stiff for the other things I have planned to do this week. You can also divide and transplant. Well, you can also divide up until October, but it's the reason that it's better to do it earlier in the summer is if you do transplant them into another place, that will give them time for their little root and their rhizome to get established enough to make it through winter and come up and be beautiful in the spring and bloom. Today is December the 8th. Christmas is fastly approaching. By the time you get this, Christmas will be over and we will be in the new year. Time just goes so fast, doesn't it? Unless, of course, you're at work. Then it slows down till you get home. I had to take a day off working in the garden yesterday for a doctor's appointment for my husband and a chance to see 2 of our children, and we're hoping to see that 3rd one before Christmas or by Christmas, so that's the plan. I was going to show you though how much color is still in the garden, but it won't be here long. It'll all be gone. Can you see from here this beautiful autumn clematis? So I had to get a battery charge or change. But I was saying it's just green, this big trellis full of clematis. This is the autumn clematis. And it's white and just beautiful. But mostly it's just green. And it won't be green very much longer. But in a garden who's like 50% or so brown, it's good to have a little green. And I have been very busy. Mostly this bag is mostly full of iris clippings. But there are, of course, some just spent annuals. I leave a few, like some of the zinnias for the birds, but not very many this year. I left more in years past, but I just think I want to go ahead and get them out of the garden. There's so much to do in the spring. I'm going to see how much of this I can get done before spring gets here, but I know there'll be a time when I'll want to just quit. I kind of want to quit, on the gardening just through the winter while I can rest too. I've been wanting to just because it's so close to Christmas, and I do a lot cooking, a lot more running around, a lot more visiting like our children and our family, and just those kinds of things are my things I usually spend Christmas doing. But I also feel good about what I've got done in the garden. Not necessarily about doing it, but about getting it done. That's wonderful. It's always wonderful to have an accomplishment. And since the 7th of December, let's see, that can't be right. No, that's not right. Since early this week, I can't remember what day exactly right now, but I think it's on this post when I put it all together. But anyway, it's been a few days, and this is my 4th bag full, and I hope to get quite a bit more. Although, from the back of our storage building, the back of our well house, I have all that's in the back of it cleaned out, and all that's in the back behind the trees, and all that's on the west fence row over there all the way down. Let me just go ahead and go around so you can kind of get a better idea of how much I've actually done. And definitely it feels good to get it done, knowing that it's going to be easier now than it will be in the spring, and knowing that God gave me these beautiful days to do it. The only day this week that hasn't been gorgeous is yesterday, and we had other obligations yesterday, so it turned out, and it was a very pretty day, but it was pretty windy, so it was really too windy to be out here. But I don't have, even though I have all of this west fence, and I have this little area just cleared out of the irises. That's basically all I'm talking about. Although you can probably tell I have cleared out some of the, just the annual zinnias and things like that. So, but this side, I don't really know if I have a whole lot, but I know I have some. Like here's a little cluster right here that will take some time, and I'm not going to even try to get that done today. It's just not going to happen. So I still lack all on this side of the well house, and all in front of the well house on the front side over there, and what's on the other side of it. And then also, actually there's some on this side of it too I need to get. And then everything here at the back of the house. So all of that still has to be done, but all the rest of it has been done as far as clearing out the iris, so I feel good about that. And I would feel even better if I got myself around and got the stuff out that's mixed in here with this on this side of the storage building. And all here in the front, and that would be the most I would hope for to get done today, but that would be great to get that done. I also gathered up my pillows and put those in plastic bags to protect them from the elements some through the winter, and I know some of them are already needing to be thrown away, but I'll just wait till spring probably to make that decision. And I do have some that I just purchased last year that I think will will be good to use for another season. Of course, I lost my canvas. It got ripped and torn and blown practically away, so I went ahead and took it off and going to throw that away and hope to get another one for next spring.
Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.